Slope of a line. Slope is a measurement of how tilted a line is. Mathematically, we define slope to be the rise of the line over the run of the line. Now that's kind of vague, so what do I mean by rise over run? If you take any 2 points on the line, doesn't matter which two, you can pick any two. I'll call them x1, y1, and x2, y2. The rise is how far apart vertically the 2 points are. In other words, what's the distance between y2 and y1? That's called the rise. And then the run is how far apart horizontally the 2 points are. So that's like the distance between x1 and x2. That's called the run. So we can actually calculate the rise over the run by actually figuring out the distance between here and here. So the distance between these 2 points is going to be y2 minus y1, because this length right here is the same as this length right here. So that is y2 minus y1. And then the run is this distance right here. And that is the same as the distance between x1 and x2. In other words, x2 minus x1. We call the number that you get here the slope of the line. And usually you're going to see the symbol m to stand for slope. So this is like an equation that we can use to find the slope of any line that we're given. Let's look at an example. We're going to find the slope of the line in this picture here. So I've drawn a line and I have labeled 2 points. Now it's important that you know that if you're given a line, you can actually use any 2 points on the line to find the slope and you're always going to get the same thing. It's sort of like a property of lines. So I've labeled 2 points, but if I had not labeled those 2 points, you could have picked like any 2 points you wanted. Okay, so our formula for slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now we need to pick one of these points to be x1, y1 and one to be x2, y2, and this actually doesn't matter which one is which. So you can pick either way and you always will just get the same m. So I'm going to make this one my x1, y1, and I'm going to make this one my x2, y2. And what this means then is that if we go to plug in for these values here, y2 is exactly equal to 5. So let's highlight that. So like y2 is 5. And so I can come to this formula and I can replace y2 with 5. I'm going to do the same thing for all of the numbers here. In other words, y1, you can see right over here, is -3. So I'm going to come in here and replace y1 with -3. And then I'll do the same thing for x2 and x1. So x2 is -1 and x1 is 3. Now I can go through and simplify this. So this becomes 8 over -4, which is equal to -2. And that is the slope of the line in this picture here. Now let's take a second to talk about what it means if you get a negative number. So lines are either going to tilt to the right or the left. So you're going to have lines tilted this way. I call that tilting to the right. Or this way. You also have vertical and horizontal lines, but we'll do a different video for that. Okay, so you have lines tilting one way or the other. So lines that tilt to the right, so that means like if as I go left to right, the line is going up, they have a positive slope, which means like m is going to be bigger than 0 when you do your calculation. Lines that tilt the other way, so to the left, those have a negative slope. In other words, m is less than 0. And this has to do with like the numbers that you see along these lines and what happens when you go to calculate m, what y2, y1, and x2, x1 are compared to each other. So if we go back to the example that we just looked at, we ended up getting a negative slope here because the line is tilting this way. So the line is tilted to the left. And that's why we got a negative slope. One last thing, you're going to see this one right here on the left called increasing. And so we would say that the line is increasing. And this one right here, we would say the line is decreasing. What does it mean to be increasing or decreasing? Well, increasing means that as you move left to right, so as we go from the left to the right, the graph is going up. So as we go left to right, the line goes up. That's increasing. Decreasing means as we move left to right, so we move along this graph, but I'm going from the left-hand side of the picture to the right-hand side. So I move along the graph, starting on the left, going to the right, the graph goes down. So if the graph goes down, it's decreasing. If the graph goes up, it's increasing.